Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Pillowtalk podcast. You're joined by our two loving hosts, Manan and Jai Malhotra. And this week it's just the two of us back again. And I know you've missed the two of us together, and you don't need Raj that much. So don't worry, we're back. We missed last week, but don't worry, we're back. And we're back again to share our unneeded opinions and trigger you guys a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think my opinion is unneeded or unnecessary, but if you feel that way, then we can go ahead with that.
Jay,
So
be
this week, yeah, yeah, go
be humble, Jay Malhotra.
on. Always. Yeah, so yesterday, the news broke out of a lynching that happened in Maharashtra. And unlike most of the lynching cases that you know, that we've been reading or we've been subjected to for a very long time, this case did not have a Muslim victim or a victim of a minority religion. The victim was a sadhu and a sannyasi. So, even though this is a very long, drawn out debate that is to be had about this topic in isolation, what this prompted us to think about was how we've been brought up in our own houses and what kind of religious beliefs we've been, made to follow or have been following ever since, we had the basic comprehension of religion. So I think to start off, I would want to know what kind of a religious background do you come from, Anand, and how has that affected, the way in which you conduct yourself?
So I have a very long, drawn out story. So pace yourself. Anyway, so basically, I've been brought up in a very, I won't say orthodox, but in a very religious household.
Okay.
So as like from as long as I can remember, I've had havans at my place. I am from a traditional Hindu family. I've had havans at my place. I've had pujas at my place, and we have this ritual or tradition or whatever of having a, let's say, 20-25 minute puja every Tuesday. So we
Hmm.
just say like a couple of mantras. We just sit together, like all of us, all six of us, my grandparents, my parents, and I, and my sister. We sit together and we just do the mantras and stuff. And we've been doing that since like forever, right? And so there was a time when I felt ki so unnecessary. Like you can understand any kid's frustration. Like you've been made to sit in
Yeah.
a place where you don't understand. Like to this date, you still don't understand what a lot of the mantras say. Like you don't know what the Hanuman Chalisa says or whatever, right? So you're basically sitting there and just saying words that you don't know the meaning of, right? So it gets a little frustrated. So I was talking to mom, let's say maybe 2 years back, and I remember this conversation very vividly because that prompted a very different change in my life. So I was just talking to her and I told her, okay, I said, mom, I think after like your generation has passed and I become older and older, I don't think we'll have this puja anymore in our house because A, I don't think anyone will have the time, and B, anyone will have any interest in doing a puja every Tuesday because see, there's no tangible effect of it, right? So you're like, yeah, good, it's so non-fruitful, is what I told her. And she said, I even though I agree with you, but I would still want you to continue, is what she said. And I said, okay, whatever, we'll see. Then came a very tough period in my life in 2019. At that point, again, because of all the frustration, I denounced my religion. Ki I don't care. There's no God that helps me. Why has this happened to me? And it just got really frustrating again. So after that, I thought about it a lot, and there were too many influences in my life, and one very weird but a very strong influence in my life that I haven't shared with any of you is I realized one very common common theme of every successful athlete or every successful um, let's say actor or singer or whatever. And I listen to their speeches when they're winning awards, and they start with, I would like to thank God first of all. And I realized ki I like, okay, I understand atheism. I do understand, and I respect people who don't think God is real. But if a lot of the people are saying thank god, then it means that they actually believe in it. Like if the first thought that comes to their mind after being successful in something is thanking god, then I think there's something like really into it. After which I started following Kanye West little, and I saw all of his speeches, and and then Kanye West, when he said that God has put me at this time, in this time at this place, just for me to be here and help XYZ and do all of that stuff, like that made me really think that, because see, I think Kanye doesn't fake it. Like he doesn't fake what he says. He doesn't fake any of the things that he says. Not
Yeah, I don't think his faith is something that, he's doing for publicity or anything.
exactly,
I
exactly.
think that is very authentic.
Yeah, and then I saw Kevin Durant, I saw Giannis, and I saw everyone. They said I'd like to thank God and stuff. So I was just thinking about it, and then I started delving more into religion and stuff, which actually brought back my faith in God, and which actually made me come back to, I'll say, my roots basically. When I actually got more interested in that Tuesday 20-minute puja that we have, and I started
Mm.
actually thinking about what I'm saying and how it's going to, like, why my words are like how my words are affecting the way I think. So as soon as you
Yeah.
start thinking about it, uh, you start understanding the words that you're saying, I think that is where you get a lot of positivity in your life, which has made me a lot confident, in a sense where I feel like, I told you this a while back, that when you look at movies and stuff, that a guy is walking and he has faith in God, and he has this imaginary God standing behind him. I told you the story where you can feel that there's someone who has your back. So that is what happens with me
Hmm.
now, that I feel that there's someone with me at all times, and that I'm not alone in anything that I'm fighting with. So that's basically my curve of belief in religion. What about you?
Yeah, I think so. First of all, I think it's very important to point out that you wouldn't have had to, go through so much to understand what the mantras mean if you'd just taken Sanskrit in class 4. But getting back to the question, I think I have a very similar approach, or a similar, uh, you could say, line of thought when it comes to religion. So even in my family, it's a very typical Hindu family, and we also have regular havans and pujas and stuff like that. But and till a while back, I mean, I think when 3 or 4 years back, it was a very regular thing for at least one of us to go to the Hanumanji wala mandir on Tuesdays.
Yeah,
But beyond that, so with time, those, us going to the mandir, that decreased. But that didn't stop at least my parents from, believing in whatever God they believe in whatever faith, they have their hopes tied up with. And like you said, for a very long time, I used to feel that, this is very redundant. Like, what is this actually doing for me? And it wasn't until very recently. So, my mom has this habit of, so in the mandir at our home, mama makes a point that whoever, takes the bath, takes a shower first thing in the morning, or who is the first one to do it, will go and light the diya. So, recently, it's been me who's been doing it.
that's cute.
And so, I mean, it's not something that I'm doing on purpose. I just wake up and I shower
Hmm.
early. So I have to do it. And she says that even if you don't want to do anything, just stand, light the diya, stand in front of the mandir for 5 seconds.
Hmm.
And even in those 5 seconds, like, I don't want you, if I don't want to say anything, I will say something like, just keep me healthy, keep my family healthy, keep my
Yeah,
friends healthy and happy.
yeah,
And even those 5 seconds have a very lasting impact on how the rest of the day goes. I
right.
mean, I feel that I'm very peaceful after those 5 seconds,
Hmm.
and certainly my parents also feel better, especially when they see me and my brother doing it.
Yeah, and you know what? Like this is what my actually this was actually my next point, that praying or just saying a few words in the morning or any time during your day just gives you that boost in positivity, right?
Yeah, I think that's actually very, very true. A lot
Which
of us don't want to accept that, but it is undoubtedly true,
You know,
as far as I believe.
I think so. I remember a while back that I was reading, not a while back, like when we were in school, when I denounced religion and God and stuff. So at that time, I was reading stuff and I read this whole debate about science versus God, right?
Yeah.
And then, which made me think, and as a like, I don't know, like I don't want to say anything like what is right or wrong. It's all about belief. So I, at that point, I couldn't comprehend stuff very well, so I thought ki, okay, when we have science we don't need God. Like if everything
Hmm.
is explained through science, then there is no God. And I was talking to someone, I remember one of my sister's friends who actually was an atheist, and he tried explaining कि bro ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है and this is what our upbringing and stuff, and I was like कि हाँ भाई, this guy's a smart dude and he must know what he's saying. So I got a little
Hmm.
influenced and I agreed with him कि yeah, I think you're making sense. But as soon as, like, through the process of growth and understanding, I realized कि there are so many things that science doesn't tell us. And there are so many, like, unexplainable stuff that happens which you can't attribute to anything. And you can say that you don't attribute it to anything, but for me, I think a lot of the good things that is done by a higher power,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's exactly the term that I would use for it.
Yeah, and which brings me to my next question for you. Do you think, like, being from a traditional Hindu family, do you think there's Ram, Shiva, Brahma and stuff, or do you think there's a higher power?
So, I mean, like I said, look, in my house, it has never been forced upon me to, believe in a particular god,
Yeah,
or to, make sure that this is the god that we are picturing whenever we're praying or anything. This only happens at Diwali, when we are supposed to go through a certain,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
mantras for each particular god, and that's fine. I mean,
yeah.
that's a
हाँ, मतलब वो तो
tradition, that's a ritual
ट्रेडिशन है,
that
हाँ.
that's supposed to happen.
या
Yeah.
या
So if I would want to, personally put into words what my belief is, then, like you said, I certainly, hands down, I believe that there is a higher power which is keeping, a check of all the rights and wrongs, and to make sure that there is a balance in the world.
हम्म.
Because if you look, I mean, this is again a very cliche thing that I'm going to say, but the world in its entirety is huge,
Yeah,
and we can't just go on believing that, it's a certain set of people in each country, it's a certain set of people in particular international institutions that are maintaining this order.
yeah.
There has to be something, there has to be some spiritual backing to this, there has to be some sort of, I mean, there is some enforcement, which I think we can which I believe is that karma is a very real thing.
Oh,
Like, what you
100%.
what
100%.
you yeah, so what you give is what you get, and that is how the entire world and everyone around us functions.
Which actually brings me to my next point. Is I was so when I started thinking about atheism and stuff, and then so I had this huge spiritual journey in 2019, early 2020, right? Where I was reading
Hmm.
books and I was trying to understand what I actually believe in. And then, like, I went to a lot of, like, mandirs. I went to I did we did havans at our place. We did a lot of stuff just to somehow get rid of the bad energy that I probably was attracting towards myself. And whatever, like, I don't know what that was, but then I realized something very strong, which was either, like, every religion, or even if you're an atheist, that you don't believe in God, right? You attribute something that you've done, like something good that you've done or you've received, to something. You never say that, oh, it happened because of me, I did it, because we've been taught to be humble in all the situations, right? So when even an atheist or someone, when they say ki something has happened, like, which was very unexpected and which wasn't supposed to happen, which was good for them, they would say ki, oh my god, this was such a coincidence, right? But if you ask me, I'll say, oh my god, thank god. Like, God did it for me, right? That is where the difference lies. We both believe in something that is working, but I attribute it to something else. Similarly, when people say that they believe in the universe, people who have a who basically believe in religion and believe in God attribute that to God. As simple as that. You say that the religion is you say sorry you say that the universe is working for you. I just say that God is working for me, which is equivalent in a very sort of like one dimensional way.
Huh, I mean, you can't, say that if something is working for me, then it has to work for the other person. Whatever they are comfortable with should, act as the guiding force or whatever guiding opinion.
Yeah.
And just to put this out there, I think everyone has had, at least I have. I had a phase during, I think, when I was 13 or 14, when I had just learned about, what atheism is. And I felt that it was very cool. So
Oh,
I
definitely.
told everyone, oh, मैं तो atheist हूँ, I don't believe in God and anything like that. But I didn't even realize when I got past that phase, because just like you said, the first instinct whenever something good happened was, oh, thank God.
Yeah,
Or, so even when college applications, results, or anything was concerned, I was sitting with my parents and we checked it. If it was nice, the first thing my mom did was thank God. So
definitely.
that is again the same instinct that I also have now.
Hmm.
As the first thing that I will say or the first thing that I will do is thank God.
Yeah.
And that God doesn't necessarily need to have a name or a face or an identity, right?
Yeah. And so this is what I realized, like when again, when I was going through my spiritual phase, I realized something very, very funny, yet something very intelligent, right? And I don't know if this sounds intelligent to another person as well, but tell me about it. So
Mm,
I realized when I was looking into a lot of religions, like just to see what background or a backdrop that they provide for their God. Like I learned about the Prophet, I learned about Jesus. Similarly, I learned
mhm,
about Hinduism, a lot of the gods. So I realized that monotheism, where you believe in one God,
yeah.
like Islam and Christianity, you attribute everything to one God. What I think
Mm,
was very so yeah, the basis of this thought was religion keeps us positive, right? That
all
it
right.
makes us
Yeah.
believe in something that might not happen, but just because we have that belief, we have that power of attraction with us, right? So this is
Hmm.
what I was thinking, and then I realized religions like Hinduism, where there's polytheism, where you believe in more than one gods, right?
Yeah.
So you realize in Hinduism we have a god for everything.
Yeah. So there are different attributes to each
We
God.
have a god of water, we have a god of fire, we have literally a god of every dimension, every possible living, non-living thing we have a god for,
Hmm.
right? So if
Yeah.
if I'm going through something which has some problem with the water or something, then I'll pray to that god. If I have some problem with fire, I'll pray to that god, right? So in Hinduism or in any polytheism religion, polytheist, I don't know, whatever. So in any religion where you believe in more than one gods, you literally can go for positivity to any god, right?
And be very specific about the kind of
Exactly.
positivity that you want.
Exactly. Like you can be so specific to that one god that
Yeah.
you're going to help me solve this problem, which just made me think about how smart the people who made religion actually were. Like they knew this is one source of positivity for people, so let's exploit it and make people more positive by making it so specific. Because see, inter god there is no war, right? I hope so.
I
Like
mean,
I
yeah, we would want to believe that.
in one religion I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
In one religion, inter god there is no war, so you can go to anyone and you can't have that fear of upsetting the other god, right? So I think that is where I thought Hinduism very smart. So this was just an anecdote that I wanted to share. But again, I think religion, that the stuff that it has done for us, I think a lot of people don't take it in a very positive manner, which actually prompted us to think about our beliefs.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of cases of mob lynchings in India for a lot of years now, and this time probably one of the very few cases of a Hindu sadhu being lynched. So that's extremely shocking. What do you think about it?
See, I think lynching, regardless of who the victim is or who's perpetrating it, is 100% wrong. Like you can't defend a lynching. You can't say that, oh, we killed him because he did this and that. It's just very simple. As a civilian, as any person, you don't have the right to another person's life. The maximum that you should have done, in case like people are saying that the people who got killed were accused of being child abductors or thieves.
Yeah,
Yeah, so again, the thing that is in your hands is to catch them and give them to the appropriate authorities. Make sure that the structure that is in place
yeah,
goes through, and make sure that justice is brought to them. And one more thing that has come out of this entire lynching is that people are saying that lynchings that happened in the past, where the victim was a Muslim, like the
mm,
cow lynching in Dadri,
yeah,
or the widespread protests and killings and riots that happened in Delhi and all over India in the past few months before the coronavirus actually hit us. So people are saying at that time, people from the comedy industry, people from Bollywood, people from all around the world, they were so vocal about how there needs to be a lot of support, how there needs to be a change in structure, and so on and so forth. And that same amount of support, that same amount of uproar is not present or evident right now
I think
when the victim is a Hindu. So what do you think about that?
so. I have 2 points to counter that. Like, so one of them is we're still not sure whether this was a communal lynching, right?
Yeah.
Because in the
Hmm.
past, the lynchings that we've seen of the Akhlaq Khan case, or the Alwar, the village in Alwar, I don't remember the name of the person, sorry, or any other lynching that has happened, uh, it was always like it was always communally fueled, right? Where
Yeah.
people were
Yeah.
told ki this guy is like like whatever, like having beef or some stuff like that, so you should go
Hmm.
and kill them. See, one very blatant problem with that is in UP when the thing happened, the guy who was the main accused, he was sent out on bail and then he was seen in Yogi Adityanath's rally, which I don't think anything can be clearer than that in terms of communally fueled violence, right?
Communally fueled, and also how the polarization is coming from a position of
Yeah,
power, right?
yeah, the upper highs, yeah.
Yeah.
And the other point that I have, like, okay, I understand that there hasn't been a similar uproar. One, because of you can't attribute it to communally fueled lynching.
Hmm.
Irrespective, there should be an uproar. Like, we should talk about it
Definitely.
definitely,
Definitely.
because
Yeah.
violence, I still maintain my stance on violence. It's wrong.
Hmm.
Don't
Of
pick up
course.
don't pick up a rod, don't pick up a danda, don't pick up a sword, don't pick up a brick, don't do anything that can hurt someone physically, right?
Hmm.
The most you should do is just hold on to them with a few people and call the police. Or if you don't want to hold on to them, if you think that's getting violent, let them go and the police will catch them. I have that much faith in the police. Right? The second thing about the actors and comedians and everything is, see, they are not in a business of, like, they're not politicians, right? Even though it's wrong, you can't tell them that it's wrong, because you can be selective in what you write about or what you post about, right? If if I feel that, okay, if I feel two things are of equal concern, right, but I want to talk about A, right, so I'll talk about that. Like, but you can't tell me that I haven't, like, I'm wrong when I don't talk about B, right?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
my point. Like, okay, politicians definitely should talk about it. People who are very deep into politics, who are always talking about politics, should talk about it. But comedians, if they've put out one tweet, actors, if they put out one tweet against one mob lynching, you can't accuse them of being wrong. Ki nahi bro, you have this vendetta, you have this propaganda, and you're not doing this, because you can be selective in terms of what you want to say on the internet.
Yeah, and I think this stems from, a very the issue of how these people, who have a lot of following, how they use their position to incite a certain kind of mobilization, just in terms of, what needs to be done, what should be done, so on and so forth. And I think that the reason why this has been brought up now is because there has been, over the past, let's say, 1 year, there has been a lot of disdain that has been sown in the community when it comes to separate religions.
Hmm.
And it has led to us coming to a point where we don't look at the perpetrators as individuals. We
Right,
look at them
right.
as their religions.
As a community.
So, yeah, this I think was very evident with the Nizamuddin case,
Hmm.
where people are saying that that is what led to the death of Delhi.
Yeah,
When and then people are blaming the entirety of the Muslim religion for it.
yeah.
So, what my point here is that what happened in Nizamuddin is 110% wrong, but there were a number of other gatherings, religious gatherings, that were, led by Hindu leaders. Those were also wrong. And in either of the case, it's not that Hinduism is wrong or or Islam is wrong or the Muslims are wrong. We need to identify those individuals from either of the faiths
Hmm.
and get them to justice instead of the entire religion being, generalized and then having to face consequences of just a few people who have not understood the gravity of the situation that we are in right now.
I think I think so. I have two counter arguments to this in terms of one countering the other, right? At one point, I completely agree with you. Where definitely, like, a whole community can't be stereotyped in a way that you've done us wrong, all of us wrong, right?
Yeah.
But you have to realize that a lot of the cases can be tracked back to Nizamuddin, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Not a lot of the cases could be tracked back to a lot of other Hindu gatherings. Both of them wrong,
Mm-hmm.
completely wrong. Both of them
Yeah.
shouldn't have happened, right? But
Hmm.
I don't know if the tracking has been done in such a way that they would track only the people from Nizamuddin who had come for the religious gathering, or if it's a coincidence that more like a lot of them have been like have had gone to that gathering, right? So
Hmm.
I don't think anyone's wrong when they're saying that they increase the number of cases or they exponentially increase the impact of COVID in India. But again, the point where they're saying that the whole religion is wrong is again completely a misrepresentation of what the actual thing is. And the other thing is, I think so. I was actually like, this is a stat that I was reading a while back. It said that I think it was 49% or 48% or something. I was reading about the most illiterate community in India. So it said that the
Hmm.
Islam community had an illiteracy of 48 or 49%, right?
Hmm.
Which according to the census of 2011, which is very strong. Okay?
Yeah.
Now I think illiteracy can be aligned with the fact that a lot of the people who are illiterate can be influenced very easily in terms of
Hmm.
in terms
Hmm.
of like the head saying that don't worry, this is not wrong, we don't have to abide by this by social distancing, or we have to stay in lockdown or whatever, and this is right, and God will save us. God will save those who want to be saved. No religious leader will tell God to save you. So I think that point of illiteracy becomes a major theme at play when you talk about how people are being misguided by a lot of the leaders.
Yeah, I think so. I have a slightly different opinion on the illiteracy subject. I think a lot of literate people are also being manipulated very easily, not in with regard to coronavirus, but in general to religious manipulation. But that's a different topic altogether. And like you said, what is important is that we identify how the media is packaging things for us, and I think that is where the media is at a very major fault, because at one hand you have Arnab Goswami, who's extremely, extremely, you know Just he's just on one end of the spectrum.
He's become a
And
joke, bro.
yeah, and I think I saw a snap of his show a few days back where, it was a picture of a few Muslims. It was a video, and the headline said, blame the right people for what is happening. That's wrong. But
Hmm.
then again, today, so after the entire lynching that happened in Maharashtra, the Indian Express came out with the headline, Three Thieves Beaten to Death by Villagers. When you look at this headline and contrast to Indian Express's headline during the cow lynching in, Dadri, that was very explicitly saying Muslim man brutally beaten. So these are very different ways in which they are putting information out to the public. And at one point or the other, when the information is processed by us, and when the information is sent to people who don't have the threshold, or who want to react to it in real time, that's when it gets problematic.
I think so. Your second point, where about the media, 100%, the media packages stuff for us in a very different like context in a lot of the
Hmm.
time. But when you're talking about the three thieves beaten up by villagers,
Yeah, yeah. That comes back to the communalism point, right?
exactly, because
Yeah.
since you can't it could be communally fueled. There's not
Hmm.
enough like reports on it yet because it's just been a day, but because it hasn't been proven yet, I think Indian Express is correct when they say ki uh,
Yeah, when they're not branding it religiously.
exactly. But I agree
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
same time, this hasn't been the only incident where they haven't named the community. Because a lot of the times when the victim is Muslim, they do say that Muslim man or Muslim boy XYZ
Hmm.
beaten up. Not only in lynching cases, but in a lot of the cases as well, where the criminal is, where like the victim is just the a guy from a minority, right? So they definitely do what you're saying, but I disagree in this case. Secondly, I think, okay, I understand that a lot of literate people do like fall into the trap of religious babas and religious leaders, but I think illiteracy does play I rechecked, by the way, it is 43%, so that's still a very
Hmm.
high number. And
Yeah.
so that's what I think, like it's so easy to misguide people, especially when, which brings me to my next point, especially when you have that fear of religion, which I think is
Hmm.
extremely wrong, because a lot of the people don't abide by their faith because of their belief, but because they're told by others that if you don't do this, then तो तुम कुछ गलत हो जाएगा.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah, so and I think that is what my point, what I wanted to, if I had to consolidate everything and put across a point, I think what I would want everyone to understand is that what religion means to you or what religion means to someone else, it can be completely different, because the understanding of religion, in my opinion, is very subjective. And just because you've read, religious scriptures doesn't mean that you can objectively identify what falls under the purview of that religion and what doesn't. And as soon as the earlier that people understand that, what my beliefs are should be my beliefs, they should not be fueled by someone else's beliefs, and I should not be forcing my opinions on someone else, is when I think we would be in a much better position to, deal with issues that involve religion, that involve communalism.
I think I think you consolidated the whole thing very perfectly. I just want to add that through my experience, I just feel that, like you said, religion is very arbitrary. Like everyone has a different thought approach to it, right? So if
Hmm.
you, so my advice or my ending statement would just be ki, if you're thinking about religion, then read about it. Like read what's actually written in it. If you cannot read it, then don't get influenced by other people. If you understand what the texts mean or what has been written, and if you think you can take it positively, I'm not saying that a lot of the things that are said in the scripts are not outdated. A lot of them are outdated, but you have to make that decisive line as to what is correct and valid and what is invalid. Nothing is right or wrong. It's just valid and invalid. And that should bring out some sort of positivity in you. As simple as that. And if religion,
Positivity, and also that puts you in a position to take a decision for your own self.
yeah, and if by chance you're guided by religious leaders or someone, history has taught us already. You can see many babas, either Asaram Bapu or all of these babas who've come in or gone out. These babas don't make sense. They're there to take your money or harass you or whatever. Just don't listen to them. It has happened in multiple religions. It's not just this. It's not just these two babas. It's happened literally everywhere. Like if you follow someone blindly, you'll fall into a ditch. As simple as that. So read about it, research about it, and think about what you have to follow, and just don't be violent with it, because no religion teaches us violence, or no religion teaches us to be intolerant towards other people.
Yeah, and I think that, this is where we should conclude this podcast, because the way that this is going, I think we're going to delve into capitalism when it comes to religion, and that's a very, very long discussion to be had. So, like always,
Let us know if you want to
yeah,
hear about that.
yeah, definitely. And like with all our podcasts, if there is anything that you feel we missed out on, if there's anything that you want to add, or if there's anything that you felt that what we said was wrong, please reach out to us. Please let us know on our Instagram pages. You can message us. You can talk to us whenever we have a lot of free time on our hands anyway. And we'll be back next week. We are not going to skip another week this time. And we'll be back with a new episode, and just we'll see you then. Thank you, guys.